you just turned 62. Somewhere in your inbox is a notice from the Social Security Administration telling you that you can file today if you want to. Your first instinct is to wait. Every article you've read says waiting is smarter. But what if, for your specific life, that advice is wrong? Here's the number nobody puts in the headline. In 2024, roughly 30% of new retirees filed at the earliest possible age, 62, even after decades of financial media telling them not to. That's not a rounding error. That's millions of people looking at the exact same math the internet uses to shame early filers and choosing to file anyway. So either millions of retirees are making a predictable mistake, or the standard advice is missing something. Economist Alicia Munnell, who founded the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College, has studied this question for decades, and her research points to something most people never hear. When Social Security's early filing penalty was set more than 50 years ago, someone claiming at 62 was expected to collect benefits for about 20% longer than someone who waited until 65. Life expectancy has shifted since then. Today, that same 62-year-old claimant is only expected to collect for about 15% longer. In other words, the penalty for filing early was built for a version of America that no longer exists. It was never a neutral, foolproof formula. It was a bet on your lifespan made decades ago, using numbers that have already changed. Let's be clear about what filing early actually costs you, because the number is real, and you should walk in with your eyes open. Your full retirement age, the point at which you receive 100% of your calculated benefit, is 67 if you were born in 1960 or later. File at 62 instead, and your monthly check is permanently reduced by up to 30%. That reduction isn't temporary. It follows you through every cost of living adjustment for the rest of your life. If your full benefit would have been $2,000 a month at 67, filing at 62 locks you into roughly $1,400 a month, forever. Picture it side by side. File at 62, and full $400 starts landing in your account this year. File at 67, and you wait 5 years for the full $2,000. File at 70, and the check grows again to roughly $2.480, thanks to delayed retirement credits. On paper, 70 looks like the winner, but that extra size only matters once you've collected long enough to make up for the 5 to 8 years of checks you never received while you were waiting. That's the entire concept behind a break-even age, and it's the number almost nobody calculates before they decide. Now let's talk about why, for a lot of people, filing at 62 still makes sense even after seeing that comparison. The first reason is the simplest one, and it's the one financial advisors respect the most. You need the money now. If you're 62, your savings are thin, and the choice is between filing early or draining a checking account down to nothing. Social Security isn't a luxury decision anymore. It's the difference between paying rent and not paying rent. A reduced check that arrives every month beats a full check that arrives 5 years from now if you can't survive those 5 years without it. The second reason is health. And it's the one the spreadsheets almost never account for, honestly. Social Security's entire reduction formula is built on an average life expectancy. But you are not an average. If you're managing a chronic illness, or your family history points to a shorter lifespan, waiting until 67 or 70 to maximize, your benefit only works if you live long enough to collect the difference. For most people, the break-even age, where delayed filing finally overtakes early filing, in total dollars collected lands somewhere around 78 to 80. If you have real reason to believe you won't reach that age, filing at 62 isn't leaving money on the table. It's the version of the math that actually applies to you. not the version built for a stranger's statistical average lifespan. The third reason flips the health argument on its head. You're in great shape, and you'd rather spend the money while you can use it. A dollar collected at 62, when you can still travel, still hike, still chase the life you spent 40 years working toward, is worth more to your actual quality of life than a slightly larger dollar sitting in a government check you might not fully enjoy at 75. This isn't reckless spending. It's a conscious decision that the value of money isn't just its size. It's when it arrives. The fourth reason is that you already have other income covering your needs, which means the penalty barely touches your real financial picture. If a pension, a paid-off house, or investment income already covers your bills, an early Social Security check becomes supplemental cash rather than a lifeline. In that situation, some retirees take the smaller check early and invest it, letting compounding work in their favor over years. The delayed filing strategy would have spent waiting. The fifth reason is one almost nobody plans for. You lose your job, or your body simply can't keep working before you meant to retire. This happens more often than the retirement planning industry likes to admit. If you're pushed out of the workforce at 62 with no bridge income between now and your ideal filing age, Social Security becomes the bridge. Filing early isn't the failure in that story. Not filing and running out of savings while you wait for a theoretically better number is the real risk. The sixth reason involves your family, not just you. For married couples, claiming strategy isn't always about maximizing one person's individual benefit. Sometimes the higher earner delays to maximize a future survivor benefit for their spouse, while the lower earner files at 62 to bring in household income during the gap years. When the higher earner eventually passes away, the surviving spouse steps up to that larger, delayed benefit anyway, so nothing from the bigger check is ever truly lost to the household. Used this way, an early filing isn't a mistake. It's one half of a coordinated plan that a spreadsheet built for a single person will never capture. The seventh reason is newer, and it's showing up in the data right now. In 2025, Social Security filings surged roughly 11% over the prior year, with researchers pointing to public worry about the program's long-term funding and reported staffing cuts at the Social Security Administration itself. Whether or not those fears prove justified, the psychology is real. A benefit you're already collecting feels safer than a promise of a larger benefit sitting in a system some people no longer fully trust. Now here's the twist most people miss, and it's the part that should actually change how you think about this decision. The entire framing of early filing loses you money, assumes you'll live to a specific age, invest nothing, and value every dollar the same no matter when it arrives. Real financial lives don't work that way. A 2024 AARP survey found that 62% of retirees wish they'd understood the claiming math before they filed. But dig into what people actually regretted, and it usually wasn't the act of filing early. It was filing without understanding the number, without running their own health, income, and family situation through the formula first. The problem was never age 62. The problem was guessing instead of calculating. So picture the version of you that gets this right. You sit down before your 62nd birthday, not with a headline, but with your own numbers, your savings balance, your other income, your family health history, your spouse's benefit, if you have one. You run the actual break-even math for your specific, full retirement benefit, and you compare it honestly against what filing early would give you starting today. Maybe you file at 62 because the money changes your life right now. Maybe you wait because your numbers say 70 wins. Either answer can be correct. The only wrong answer is the one nobody calculated at all, because here's what the wait until 70 crowd rarely says out loud. Delaying only pays off if you live long enough, stay disciplined enough, and never need the money in between. Filing at 62 rarely pays off if you didn't need the cash and could have comfortably waited. The mistake was never the age on the form. It was letting a stranger's average decide a number that was always, from the very beginning, about your one specific life. You turned 62. The notice is still sitting in your inbox. But this time, you're not asking what the internet thinks you should do. You're asking what your own numbers say. And that question, not the age on the calendar, is the one that was always going to determine whether this decision made you richer or poorer,